Hi guys. Well, I wasn't going to do this video, and depending on which way videos gets uploaded today, I did another video on the RCA, so if it gets uploaded first, you'll see, I also mentioned in there, but Bob over at bandersentv had done a very similar video of testing capacitors, his latest video, and I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. It's a part one of a two-part series on working on a Hickok cardmatic. He's restoring it, tube tester. So check it out. But in it, he goes over testing some of the caps in it and showing a couple ways of leakage test and checking the capacitors. And he really, there wasn't a whole lot I could really add per se, but one of the viewers I've got wanted me to go ahead and still make mine also. So we're gonna test some capacitors, and I'm gonna show another way of doing things and kind of go over it a little in detail somewhat. There will be some math formulas, so but don't worry about them too much. The ultimate best way is to get one of these capacitor testers. Various companies made them: Hickok, Hickok, Solar, and several others. Paco did, I think Cinco did, and I believe RCA also has one, and just to name a few. They were all over the place. Just pretty much anybody who made test equipment also made a capacitor bridge, comparator bridge, and tester. It could check for leakage. Knight, and you know, the list goes on forever. You can find these on eBay if you really do some serious searching for them, whether it's an Hickok, Heathkit, whatever. Really cheap, you know, 20-30 bucks, a few bucks shipping. I mean, there are some people on there that's really wanting to ask a lot for them, but they're not selling either, so don't pay attention to them too much, and they're always on there. Now, one thing I do want to point out on these, the one thing I can definitely add, you have leads, okay, but these testers will test down in the picofarads. In fact, this one goes down to 10 picofarad. The one thing that, when you're doing some small values of that nature, these leads will cause you all kinds of headaches of testing the capacitor. Now, not so much on the leakage, but if you're actually looking for a value or seeing how close it is on value, because when you get down there, the leads themselves will create a capacitor in themselves. They're capacitive coupled, so that'll actually throw off the capacitance. But if you pull them out and unscrew them a little ways, and there's a hole in here in this screw out here, and you stick the leads in and then tighten these down, and so you can test this capacitor right at the unit. Something towards this effect. Get over here. didn't get it in there. That's why it was tightened down wrong. But you can hook the capacitor up like that. If you pull one out of a circuit and the leads are too short, you take it out of a radio or whatever, and to do this, you can just solder on some extra lead. That's all you got to do, just so you can get it on here. But the thing is, it takes the wires out of the circuit, the leads, so that they're not going to give you any troubles, and then you can check it for capacitance. So anyway, I'm not checking anything that small, so we'll just use the leads, and because they'll make it a lot easier, because some of the stuff I'm going to check is some can electrolytics. I've got a few here that are new old stock, and Cornell's. This one is date coded. It's the only one I found that actually had a date code on it, of 1962, 10th week of 62. But I got about 4 of those, and then I've got an older cap that came out of something. I'm not sure what it came out of. We might check. With this guy here, and then I've got a brand new electrolytic. I just picked one out. It's a 68 microfarad, 450 volts to compare, and a new paper one I just had in there, which is, or not paper, I mean a film cap. It's a 0.15 microfarad, so at 630 volts. And then we just got a few, I just grabbed a few old caps, basically, so that then we'll go over some other stuff. So to get things going here, I'll show you what we got set up on the board. I'll have a meter that we can look at. Now I'll be probably turning the light off at times so that you can see the eye a little better. When this thing is setting in capacitance, just test capacitance, it's putting around 53, 54 volts across the leads AC. And when it goes for testing leakage, it generally get up around 450, 500 volts. It varies from day to day, just however it's feeling. So but it'll get up there good enough to test most capacitors for leakage. Now, if you got high voltage caps, 1,000 volt, 6,000 volt, you're not really going to get a whole lot of information. Although if they do check, you can still test them. If they are getting leaky down there, and what one of these testers can put out, then they're badly leaky. So let's look at some the old ones first, and we'll try to rush through this. I don't want to make this like a super long video. It doesn't have to be. But I have a 0.02 microfarad. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see, and 600 volts. So we'll put that one on here. Now, paper caps are non-polarized, so you don't have to worry about which way you hook the leads up. If you're doing electrolytics, make sure that you're hooking to the positive lead to the positive, and these are black and red. Red for positive, black for negative. So you want to make sure you hook them up right, otherwise you might get a nasty surprise if you crank up the leakage really good. And see, that's a 0.02, like I said, yeah. So we'll see what we can come up with. Like I said, we're putting right now It's loading the circuit, so it's probably pretty leaky. 18 volts across it, AC. And let's see if we can get a read on it. We're set on the 0.001 to 0.5. That's the center markings, red markings here. So 0.02 should be up in there someplace. And we're not getting virtually nothing. It tries to shadow there a little bit. Like there's something going on. I don't know if you can see that. But which is about double its size. So I would say it's probably pretty leakage. Now we'll switch it down here to paper and mica. And it's 600 volts, so we can give it everything we want. Let's see, we're up to, when the eye opens, that's when it's showing that it's charged up and it's not leaky. Okay, there's where the eye's just closed. 104 volts, and I'll let you see that. We'll turn the light on. At 104 volts, the eye is fully closed and it's leaking. It's a 600 volt cap. So you take it back to 0. I usually like switching it completely out. That should take it down, dropping down quickly, because otherwise, if you don't discharge the cap, especially a larger cap, you can get yourself a pretty nasty little shock. Now we're going to do a 0.1 at 400 volts. These all can stay on the same scale. Okay. I'll take you back up. I'll shut the light off. Not too bad. It's got a pretty decent eye opening. You just keep rocking it until you get the maximum eye opening, and it's a 0.1. It's measuring not bad. Somewhere 0.1 is here, 0.2 is here, so it's less than half between them, so probably like 0.13 or something. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and see what we get for leakage. Take it back to leakage, start cranking it up. It's charging. Now that's a 400 volts, so we go to 400 volts. Eyes closed. We're at 126 volts on the meter. I don't know. And it's staying closed, so it's leaky. We'll take it back down. We're charged. Discharge. Okay. Now we got a plastic one here. It's a 0.02 at the blind man needs some light. It looks like 600 volts, working volts. So we'll put him on there. Let's see how well he does. This is actually a new old stock. It's never been put in the circuit. So we'll see how well he does. And so 0.02 should be up in here someplace. and it's just not wanting to measure it at all. Try leakage on it. Closed. 46.6 volts. 46 volts on a 600 volt cap. Not very good. And there's the guy right there. It's never been in circuit. We have another one that's a new old stock. Let's try him. He's a .01. Now he's a high voltage. I hope you can see that. 1600 volts. So if he goes clear above the range of this meter as far as testing for leakage, we can only, make some assumptions. But .01, we'll see how it does for capacitance. It's not a real good eye opening. And that usually indicates that there's problems with the capacitor. It may be leaky, or it may be just that the dielectric's not breaking down to the point where it will get leaky, but it's breaking down where the capacitance is not too good anymore, or the ends are getting moisture where the wires connect on and causing corrosion and high resistance there. But we're, let's see, we're running about 0.14 or .014, I mean, excuse me, on that. So it's a little high, but probably well within its normal tolerance. We'll take it to the leakage test. .125 volts leakage. So for a 1600 volt cap, new old stock. The point I wanted to make with the new old stock versus some of the older ones that I took an outer radio is they're still old, and they're still have drawn their moisture. They still have went bad. So don't buy new old stock caps thinking they'll be alright. They're not. Now, in comparison, let's look at a nice new one here. 0.15, and see how it reads. Alright, on our scale here. Nice and beautiful, distinct eye opening. And pretty much on the 0.15 mark, about where it should be. Now we'll check it for leakage. It's a 630 volt cap, which is rather interesting. And it's a new cap, and it's showing leakage. Now I didn't plan this. I just picked it out of the stock. We'll give it a little time and see if it'll charge up, but I'm at about half the voltage, and it's not very old, so it shouldn't take any time at all to get charged. And wow. As long as it opens a little, that's fine, but 154 volts. Now, just to be on the safe side here, and I can go back and check those others. Aha. The meter's showing leakage. So we'll quickly run through the others just to double check them. Our meter is actually causing leakage because it's these are highly sensitive, and she's good. They're highly sensitive, so keeping the meter in there is probably not the best way of doing it. Let's just double check real quick and see what some of these are actually doing. It's a higher voltage, but it's still leaky. That's the new old stock 1600 volt cap. Try the other new old stock and see how well it does. Yeah, it's extremely leaky. So that's the other new old stock. It'd be real low voltage. A couple of the old caps I had in here before. Leaky. And leaky. Probably. Yep. So now let's look at something different. 68 microfarad cap, and we'll set the scale. We'll do a new one first, then we'll look at the old ones, and then we'll go from there. 50. So we're on the 50 to 5,000 microfarad. Now on these, on electrolytics, you want to make sure you get your leads hooked up right. So the red lead is going up to positive. It's on the positive end. The arrow shows the negative end, which is on this end. Black lead goes negative. Make sure you get them hooked up right. So now, let's see here. Where are we at? Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, pretty much almost on the money, right around 68, 70 microfarads. So, not too bad. Now, I won't really go into how checking. I'll just shoot at you a real quick statement on the power factor. You turn it. What you're doing, what you're going to look for is get a wider eye opening if you can. But it always keeps decreasing. New cap basically has not much any power factor at all to them. Power factor is basically the resistance, and it's the same thing as the SR meter basically. Now we go to our electrolytic test. 450 volts. Now we got to let her charge up. It's a large cap, so it's going to take some time. For this thing to shoot some charge into it. As long as the eye comes open. As long as it doesn't stay closed, it is fine. Around 400. And she's still opening. Now you can use these to reform caps. Just about maxed out in voltage, so that went above 450, so we're good. Which we should be. It's a new cap. Now let's look at some of these old ones. Just, probably this is getting a little long, so I'm gonna just give a quickie look. 60 to 80, 30 to 50, 500 working volts. So let's see. Let's do just one section, which is the half moon. Now on cans, the can itself, even though it's got cardboard on it, but this can out here is their negative. The guys in the center is your positive. They'll have markings on them a lot of times, like a half moon, square, triangle, and sometimes they don't have a marking. And we're going to do the 60 to 80, I guess. So try to get this on here without creating a short. Alright. Well, it's over 100. Probably 1, 2, 3, yeah, about 110 microfarads. Now, it's a 500 volts, so we'll just start going up and seeing how well it does. Still opening. Now these probably should be reformed. They're old, they've been outside in the cold. But I still wouldn't trust them. They're old. I only have them because I bought them with a bunch of stuff, and I'll just use the cans. Because if I need a nice can, maybe one's missing. There's a real nice one, nice and shiny. And it's even just got a sticker on it. I could just tear the sticker off, clean it off. But let's say I got a radio that didn't have, at some time in the past they replaced the cap on it, the capacitors, and they took it off. Well, if this is about basically the same thing, same size roughly, I've got a few of these different sizes, I can use it. I can just unstuff it, put my new caps in it. Around about 300 volts now. I don't know if it's going to come out of it. The standard procedure would be wait several minutes and stuff, but we're not going to go through that. The video would be rather lengthy. So I want to get on a couple other little bits of information before this video gets too long. So I think we'll get to that. But I did want to just kind of show you a different bridge that you can use or buy and get one. You can, they call them comparator also. You can, if you for some reason have an unknown cap, and I don't know, or a resistor, I don't know why you just can't just go by here, but if you want to be maybe more accurate. I mean, this is fairly accurate, but you can put a standard on this side. You know, a known, like if you're doing resistors, a known resistor of known value, and compare it to what you're measuring, or a known capacitor. I don't even use that. The main thing I use this for more than anything is check for leakage. And I do check new caps. Not all the time, not every one, but I do check them. I have probably over the years, the last 40 some years, probably just a real small handful of capacitors that were bad. It don't happen too often. It's less than 1/10 of 1%. So anyway, let's see here. Get ourselves situated here. Lift you up just a little bit. There we go. Now, yeah. Now, what if you wanted to? Maybe you didn't have something like this here. If you have a preferably a variable power supply, or if you're actually wanting to check, say, some capacitors of extremely low voltage, when this thing gets down to real low voltage, it's not going to be extraordinarily accurate on leakage. You know, down, I'd say anything under 25 volts anyway, or especially anything under 50 volts. Let's just pick 50 as a good point. But if you have a good DC variable power supply, you can check capacitors with that, or if you want to build something, you can build something. But for leakage mainly. And basically, what you do is you'll have you know, your power supply here, and preferably variable, mainly because, you know, you might be wanting to check, you know, say a 100-volt cap. Well, that's fine if you only got if you got a 100-volt supply or less, you can check it. But if you have, say, a 100-volt power supply that's set at 100 volts, you can't. You don't want to be checking 50 volt or 25 volt. Or if you got a 400 volt supply, you don't want to be checking anything less than 400 volts. So if you have something variable, you can vary it. And there's, you know, it's not that hard to make one variable or build one. But plus lead, come over here. This is our meter. And that's basically how you hook it up. Now, meter choice, what I would choose is either one of these, you know, your regular digital multimeter, or a VTVM, because both is going to have around 10 megs. VTVM may have 11 megs if you've got the probe with it that's got the 1 meg resistor in it. But 10 megs for paper caps is really what you want, mainly because the way you're going to check capacitors on this is you're going to look at the voltage as it drops, because you're going to start out before the cap starts charging. The minute you fire up the power supply or supply voltage to that cap, it's going to read real high, and then it's going to start slowly going down. Now, the nice thing about a setup like this, suppose the cap's shorted, no big deal. Your meter's just going to read what's out of the power supply. So if the cap's open, the meter reads nothing. Anything in between will be leakage or a good cap. Now with your basically paper caps, what you're looking for, what you're going to do is you're going to look at what we used to call clicks, or ticks. Some guys call them clicks, I don't know why. But anyway, they're basic time constants on how fast this meter goes back to zero, or hopefully back to zero. And what a tick or a time constant is resistance times capacitance. So resistance is your 10 meg ohm meter. That's your resistor. So you could think of the meter as like a resistor in here. That's 10 meg ohms. Resistance in ohms, capacitance in farads. So if this happens to be a 1 microfarad cap that you're checking, then it comes out to be 1 second. Because 1 microfarad is 1 times 10 to the minus 6 with 10 megs, I mean 0.1 microfarad, and it would be 1 second. 1 microfarad would be 10 seconds. So if we have a 0.1 microfarad, then that would give us a 1 second time interval, or time constant, or tick. A good cap, the meter will go back to zero. It'll start out with as the cap starts charging at full meter scale, and then it's going to start reducing down. And of course, if you're using a digital meter, it'll drop down. If you're using a VTM, which is kind of nice because you can just sit there and watch it. Of course, as far as ranges go, whatever voltage you're applying, that's what once your meter's set at. If it's auto ranging like this one, then all you got to do is just set it on DC and it will take care of the ranging. If you're using a VTVM and say you're measuring say a 400 volt cap at 400 volts, then you want to be on a range, like a 500 volt range. Anyway, 8 time constants or less is what you're looking for. So 8 times this, so in other words, if it's a 0.1 microfarad with a 10 meg ohm meter, a good cap would be 8 seconds or less for it to get to zero. Now that's on paper caps. Electrolytics is a little different. On electrolytics, you will actually go ahead and put a resistor in here, a 220K resistor across the meter. And then your time constant will be, your R will be 220K times, again, the capacitor in farads. And then you just do the math to get the time. You're still looking at 8, but it doesn't have to exactly be dead zero. Electrolytics are large enough capacity as a general rule that they never actually go to zero. Actually, a paper cap or film cap, either one, any capacitor will never actually fully charge. It follows the natural logarithmic curve, which is something like this. It'll start real high, right up in here, and then it goes down and curves, but it'll go on for infinity, getting infinitely close to this line of zero, but never ever getting to that line. But when you're looking at small values like 0.1, 0.01 in those ranges, and this is kind of really only accurate to actually be checking for the most part down to about 0.01. Anything less than that, the meter generally is not quick enough. It'll actually just charge cap real quick, unless the cap is got a short or is extraordinarily leaky. It would be the only time that be okay. But if you're checking anything like a .01 larger cap and electrolytics, then this method works. Now, as far as some other stuff about, say we're going to check electrolytic cap on those, since they do have, and they're large enough capacitors, you're going to see the leakage current. Your meter's never going to really truly fully zero. It's going to get real down real close. It's going to get down there pretty small, but it's not going to ever get completely close. So what you want to look at, there's a couple formulas that you can use. First of all, what is leakage current and how do you find it? Well, leakage current is, we'll use IL for leakage, equals V over 10. That gives us microamps. If my voltmeter reading is from a 10 megohm voltmeter, they'll give it in microamps. So reading, and that's what we're interested in. That's your leakage current formula. So no, just to find it, you take whatever readings on here and divide it by 10, and that'll give you turn it into microamps of current. Now there are a couple of formulas. Our minimum leakage is the square root of V times C divided by 5. I'll give you what these mean here in a minute. Max leakage is square root of VC divided by 2. And the worst case scenario leakage current, and I'll just put W, equals the square root of V and C times C times 6. V is the rated voltage of the cap. So like something like this cap here, rated voltage is 10 to 150 volts. It's not real good when they actually give a range. That's interesting. Let's take this one. Okay, 120 working volts, or 150 working volts, 150 working volts, 150 working volts. This is 320 microfarads. V is that working voltage. That's the number you'll put in for V. C is the capacitance in farads, or in microfarads, I mean. So 20, since it's already in microfarads, you take 20 times 150, take square root of that, and take it times 6 to get the worst case scenario leakage current they can be. If it's there around that current or above, it's no good. If you want to see if it's in these ranges, then you just take the 20 times 150 square root, divide by 2. That's the maximum leakage current you want, and of course minimum same way, 20 times 150 square root, divide by 5. It's not extremely hard, and really for the most part doing this, if you hook the thing up, you know, whether you're testing an old paper cap you want to check, or testing electrolytic or anything, you don't have to really use this math or anything. Basically, just as long as you know what leakage current really is, but for practical purposes, you know what you're reading on here basically. So you take whatever this reading is, divide by 10, and I'll give you a leakage current. But if this meter, you know, might start going down to 0, but it stops, and you sit there for 5 minutes and it's still sitting somewhere in there, or just barely dropping a little more than that, that cap's shot. So You don't have to actually get down to nitpicky about 8-time constants, or figuring up the leakage currents or anything like that. If you're actually wanting to test a cap and you don't have a regular tester and it's something that's 0.01 or larger, you can set up something like this if you've got a power supply, DC power supply, to do it with. Now if you wanted to build one power supply, you could. If you got a transformer, basically just a real quick thing, you just have your primary and a secondary, and I just use something that was solid state. Don't worry about getting a tube rectifier, and come out here with a solid state diode. And to make it variable, you can either use a heavy gauge, like 4 watts or greater, potentiometer around 100K, 150K, or you can, if you got, you can run several resistors, divider network through here, and have connections off. Basically somewhere around between about 150K total resistance across. You also want to put a filter cap in here, somewhere around 8-10 microfarads or so. It's okay to have ripple in it. It's not going to kill anything. And you could, if you want to really get fancy, you can hook these to a switch, and then, rotary switch, and then have your cap hooked to that. The big thing about making it variable like this, whether you use a potentiometer, and of course the wiper would go to the cap, but your cap's going to hook into one of these from here, your test cap, and then it'll hook somewhere, any one of these, and however many divisions you want, how many different resistors you have, but it will hook in one of those, and that way you can adjust the voltage and everything. But if the cap happens to be shorted, it's not going to be a big deal. Generally you'll put a resistor in here, around between 22 and 47K, just in case the cap would be dead shorted. It won't really overload the diode. That's just a rough thing. By the time, this is only if you got a transformer to do this with. If you have to go buy a transformer and everything, you're better off just buying a regular, something like a Knight, Heath Kit, ICO, Solar, whatever, capacitor tester, and restore it. There's just a few caps and some resistors in it to bring it right up to full operational order, and you're good to go. So I hope this information is helpful a little bit. Like I said, I wasn't planning on really actually doing it, since Bob had already done his, and he covered everything. But at least now you get to see a couple different caps, and he actually does. He had a small voltage cap that he actually does the test with a DC supply, and he actually hooked his meters up with one of them is an amp meter, so you could check the microamps going through. So watch that video. I'll put the link in the description. Watch it. I think you'll find it interesting. Hopefully between the two of us there's quite a bit of information so that it can help you with understanding about these. Basically, when it comes to old capacitors, I generally don't really care about testing them or reforming old electrolytics or anything. I'm going to replace them. Even if they do test good now, they're not going to last much longer. If they're already 50, 60, 70 years old, they're not going to last much longer, or even 40 years old. So I just go ahead and replace them. It's not really worth the hassle or even the potential, if it's a cap in a bad place, of either wiping out a tube or some other component in there. You know, we got a coupling cap. You could, if it goes leaking, you put positive voltage on the grid of say an output tube, and some of those output tubes are getting pretty expensive, so you don't want to do that. So anyway, I just generally just replace them. The main reason I've got this and what I do with it is I spot check my new ones I replace. That I'm going to put in there, just, you know, ever so often I'll check one and just see, make sure it's okay. So anyway, or if I'm doing troubleshooting and it's already been recapped, I've already recapped it, you know, and it's appearing like, hey, you know, like a leaky cap, I can check that and see if it is. So again, watch his video too, and see what he's got, you know, he's doing. And you know, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, subscribe to it. He does a lot of stuff on TVs and radios. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. And we'll get back to other stuff after this video. Like I said, there's another video that I don't know which order they're getting uploaded. It'll probably get uploaded before this one. Another on the RCA RE45. So it'll probably be up first before this one. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your comments.